السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وأبوا إذ ادعوا الملك ولم يذكروا كيف انطلق إليهم قسمه بينهم لأنه ليس في القسمة قضاء على الغير فإنهم ما أقروا بالملك لغيرهم. قال رضي الله عنهم: هذه رواية كتاب القسمة. وفي الجامع الصغير أرض ادعاها رجلان وأقام البينة أنها في أيديهما وأراد القسمة لم يقسمها حتى يقيم البينة أنها ولهما لاحتمال أن تكون لغيرهما. ثم قيل هو قول أبي حنيفة رحمه الله، وقيل هو قول الكل، وهو الأصح، لأن القسمة الحفظ في العقار غير محتاج إليه، وقسمة الملك تف- تفتقر إلى قيامه ولا ملك، فامتنع الجواز.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على رسول الكريم. اللهم نور قلوبنا بمعرفتك، واشرح صدورنا بنور كتابك وسنة نبيك، واحفظنا عن زلل وخطأ في بيان مرادك. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا، إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. وتب علينا يا مولانا، إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. ربنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وإسرافنا في أمرنا، وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. So we continue with Kitab al-Qisma, which is the division of shared or co-owned property, be it movable or immovable property. So we were busy with the distribution of, or rather we were doing the masail with regards to inheritance and the distribution of inheritance. And we mentioned yesterday that if two people come forward and they say that this house or this plot has been inherited by us, and we wish to have it distributed amongst the heirs. Now, according to Sahibain, they do not have to produce any kind of evidence. Whereas according to Hanifa, they have to produce evidence, number one, of the death of the person, that the person really is dead, the deceased, from whom they inherited, and number two, the number of heirs. This is with regards to immovable property. However, when it comes to movable property, or when it comes to an item which they co-own because of something which they purchased, which they bought, in that case, all the ulama are unanimous that they don't have to produce any kind of evidence. And then they gave the dalil and the proofs of each party. Now, Imam Quduri Rahmatullah is saying, نَفَعَ اللَّهُ بِعُلُومِهِ وَعُلُومِ مَشَايِخِنَا وَأَسَاتِذِنَا وَأَوْلِيَاءِ اللَّهِ الصَّالِحِينَ آمين. وَإِنِ ادَّعُوا الْمُلْكَ وَلَمْ يَذْكُرُوا كَيْفَ انتقل إليهم. That if the individuals, they are claiming ownership, however, they don't mention how it came into their ownership. They're not saying whether it was unintentional ownership, such as inheritance, or whether it was intentional ownership, they bought it and so forth. So then he's saying, قَسَمَهُ بَيْنَهُمْ. The Qadi, he will distribute it, he will share it amongst them, he will distribute it amongst them. So, لأنه ليس في القسمة قضاء على الغير. Why? Because in this instance here, in this case here, by doing the distribution and by dividing the property into individual shares, there is no judgment against an absent person. There is no judgment against a person or the third party. لأنهم ما أقروا بالملك لغيرهم. Why? Because they have not acknowledged or admitted that it was owned by anybody else. They merely came to say that we own it, and we wish Kisma. So in that case, they're not claiming ownership to have been in someone else's possession, and now they've gotten ownership of it from him or from them. قال هذه رواية كتاب القسمة. Then the Musannif Rahmatullah, Imam Al-Khinani Rahmatullah, is saying, this is the narration of Kitab al-Qisma from the Mabsut, Kitab al-Asra of Imam Muhammad. وفي الجامع الصغير, however in Jami al-Saghir we find this masla, that أرض ادعاها رجلان, that there is a piece of land and two people are claiming ownership of it. وأقام البينة أنها في أيديهما, and they present evidence that it is in their possession. وأراد القسمة, and they intend division of that plot. لم يقسم حتى يقيم البينة, the judge will not distribute it until they produce evidence أنها لهما, that it really does belong to them. They have to show proof of ownership. لاحتمال أن تكون لغيرهما, because of the possibility that it might belong to someone else. ثم قيل هو قول أبي حنيفة, then it is said in Jami al-Saghir that this is the opinion of Imam Hanifa, which coincides, which agrees with the masla we did yesterday. This is according to Imam Hanifa, immovable property. If people are coming forward with it, they have to produce evidence of ownership. وَكِيلَ وَقَوْلُ الْكُلِّ وَهُوَ الْأَصَحُّ. However, it is also said that this is the opinion of all the ulama, and that is the more correct view. Sahib al-Hidaayah is saying it is a more correct view, that this is a unanimous masala, that they will have to produce evidence that it belongs to them. لأن كسمة الحيز في الإقال غير محتاج إليه. Now, yesterday we did remember that there are basically two types or two reasons for distribution, either for hiz or for ownership. Understand? So in this case here, because it's immovable property, so the kisma can't be because of hiz. So therefore, the only thing that remains is kisma of mulk, meaning they want individual ownership of their respective shares. So this requires that you have to establish ownership. Before you can gain individual ownership, you must first of all produce evidence that it is co-owned by the two of you, whatever the case may be. لأن كسمة الحيز في الإقالة غير محتاج إليه, because the division for the purpose of preservation, protection in immovable property, there is no need for it, because the property is not going to get stolen. It looks after itself, and it's not going to get stolen or taken away. وكسمة الملك تفتقر إلى قيامه, whereas the division, the purpose of which is individual ownership, this is in need of being established. ولا ملك, and there's no ownership. Meaning it's in need of establishing proof. And ولا ملك, and here it can't be ownership without proof. In other words, and ولا ملك أي بغير بينة, there cannot be ownership without proving ownership. فامتنع الجواز, so therefore permissibility is not approved. Then permissibility of making qisma, in other words, is not allowed. Now he's saying قال إمام قدوري رحمه الله وإذا حضر وارثان وأقام البينة على الوفاة وعدد الورثة والدار في أيديهم ومعهم وارث غائب قسم القاضي بطلب الحاضر. So carrying on with the laws of inheritance, what happens if some of the heirs are absent in another country, whatever the case is? Understand? Then what? So إذا حضر الوارثان, if two heirs present themselves to the judge, وأقام البينة, and they establish evidence, they present evidence على الوفاة, upon the death of the deceased, of the mayyit, as is demanded by Imam Hanifa rahmatullahi, وعدد الوارثة, and the number of heirs. So obviously this masla is now muttafaq now, because it agrees with both Sahibain and Imam Hanifa. But daru fi aydihim, and the house or the property is in their possession. It's in their possession. وَمَعَهُمْ وَارِثٌ غَائِبٌ. However, together with him, they're saying there are more heirs, but they absent. Different country, whatever the case may be. قَسَمَهَا الْقَاضِي بِطَلَبِ الْحَاضِرِينَ. So he's saying in this instance, the Qadi will distribute the heirs because of the demand of those who are present. وَيُنْسِبُ وَكِيلًا يُقْبِضُ وَيَقْبِضُ النَّصِيبَ الْغَائِبِ, and he will appoint a wakil to take possession of the share of those who are absent. وَكَذَا لَوْ كَانَ مَكَانَ الْغَائِبِ صَبِيٌّ يُقْسِمُ وَيُنْسِبُ وَصِيًّا يَقْبِضُ نَصِيبَهُ. And the same wasalam will apply that instead of an absent person, there is a child. As we mentioned to you before, obviously the qadi will act as a wakil of the child. He'll act on behalf of the child because the child doesn't have the ability to say yay or nay. So because he's not baligh, so he doesn't understand what is in his benefit, what is to his benefit, or what will harm him. So here also, if there's a child amongst the heirs, the qadi will still distribute the estate, and here he will appoint a wasi, send a guardian, who will take the share of the child, take the share of the minor on his behalf. لأن فيه نظر للغائب, because in the masala of the absent person, there is consideration for the absent person, that the absent person's interest is not lost. والصغير, and is also consideration towards the minor as well. ولا بد من إقامة البينة في هذه الصورة, and it is necessary to present evidence in this particular instance. عنده أيضا خلاف النوم, according to Imam Sahib رحمة الله عليه, contrary to the Sahibain, as we did yesterday. كما ذكرنا, as we mentioned before, من قبله. ولو كان مشتريين لم يقسم على غيبة أحدهم. However, if there are two people that come forward and they both claim, and the person is claiming, right, that they purchased it, this is co-owned, a vehicle, for example, whatever, or a house, and he's saying that this co-owned, this plot is co-owned by me and somebody else, so and so person, but he's not here presently. He's gone in the business trip, he's gone for Umrah, Hajj, whatever. So in that case, the Qadi will not distribute, will not divide the property with the absence of the partner, of the co-owner. Well, what's the difference between the two masail, between the waratha, masla of the waratha, and the masla of those who have purchased property? You following so far, Mark? I haven't asked. Are you following so far? Lukman?
Jumana.
Following?
Jumana.
Any questions? Anything you didn't understand so far?
No, but so far.
Okay, so it's pretty straightforward so far, right? Now, what's the difference between this masla and the previous one? The difference is أن ملك الوارث ملك خلافة, that the ownership of the heir is an ownership of khilafa, meaning that he is inheriting somebody else's ownership. He is not owning or becoming the owner by choice, but rather he is taking over ownership. So he's taking over ownership of the deceased. The deceased died, and now he automatically, the heir, becomes entitled to it. So he didn't ask for it. He didn't enter into any kind of deal by choice. The Sharia has given it to him. That this belongs to you now. Understood? So he's become the Khalifa, the deputy, so to speak, the heir, the inheritor of the deceased. حتى يرد بالعيب ويرد عليه بالعيب. Then, therefore, or to the extent that he can return something because of an aib, because of a fault in that item, and something can be returned to him because of a fault in that item. فيما اشتراه, that in those things which were bought. فيما اشتراه المورث أو باع, in those things which the deceased either bought or sold. You follow? So by him becoming the deputy on behalf of it, therefore all the responsibilities and the duties and the rights which was originally owed to the deceased in any item will fall onto the heir now. So if the deceased had bought something, then passed away, now it comes into the ownership of the heir and he finds there's a fault with it. He can return it. he is entitled to return it and get a replacement or get his money back. You follow? And vice versa, Oba'a. If the deceased before dying he sold somebody something and now he's passed away, and that customer comes back, or that purchaser, the person who bought the item comes back, and your father sold me this item, it's faulty, I want my money back or I want a replacement, then the heir is obliged to do so. Then because now he has become the heir of those responsibilities as well. You follow? ويصير مغرورا بشراء المواريث, and it can also be مغرور, you can say like fooled or duped because of a purchase of the muwarith, because of the purchase of the deceased person, meaning that somebody did the deceased person down, cheated the deceased person, so to speak. So that problem now will become his. And the deceased person bought something, not realizing something off with the bought item. For example, somebody sold him an animal which he didn't own. It didn't belong to him. Now the actual owner comes and asks for his animal back. And so obviously now that is whoever inherited that will become his problem now. So the gharar will be passed on to the heir. So anyway, he's just mentioning all of this to show us that the heir has become the Khalifa of the deceased estate. Understand? So this is the difference between something which you bought and something which you inherited. Something which you inherited, you're acting as a vicegerent, the deputy, the heir of the previous owner. فانتصر أحدهما خصما عن الميت فيما في يده. So therefore, one of the heirs will be appointed as a khasam, as a defendant on behalf of the maid, فيما في يده, with regards to what has come into their possession. والآخر عن نفسه, and the other heir, he will be acting on his own behalf. فصارت القسمة قضاء بحضرة المتخاصمين. So in this instance here, if we divide the property amongst the heirs, we will be dividing the property with a judgment with everybody present. All parties are present. Understand? All parties are present. So therefore, the judgment can go ahead. The qadi can divide the property, can distribute the property, because whoever has an interest in that property, has a claim, a stake in the property, they're all present. However, that ownership which is established because of a purchase, mulku mubtada'in, this is new ownership. Okay? This is a new ownership. Those people are coming into the possession of that particular item. So they're becoming the new owners of that item. ولهذا لا يرد بالعيب على البائع. And for this reason, they cannot return an item because of a fault to the seller's seller. So they can't go to for example, the wholesaler and say, we bought this from this particular store, we demand from you to give us a refund. No. They have to go to the person that they bought it from, not to they can't go to the seller. فلا يصلح الحاضر خصما عن الغائب. So therefore, the one who is present, he cannot stand as a defendant for the one that is absent. فوضح الفرق. So in this way, the difference becomes clear between these two masail. In other words, each person is their own individual owner. So it won't be fair if the other partner is not present to see what share is being given to him and whether he approves of it or not. Why? Because he has a full stake in the item. He's not standing there as a representative of someone else, as the heir is. The heir is standing as representatives, as deputies, as what you call acquired ownership because of acquired ownership from the deceased. These people they have not acquired ownership. They are the owners. It belongs to them. So therefore, they have a direct stake in seeing that the division and the distribution be fair to them. That can only happen if they're both present, if all the parties are present to see what share has been given to them. Okay, in the case of the heirs, it won't really matter because it's going to be distributed fairly amongst all of them. Okay, according to the Sharia, because that has already been settled what their share is and how much they will get. In this case, yeah, it does matter because obviously the person, for example, if it's a house, he might not want the upper story. He might want the lower story and so on and so forth. So he has to be present to present his case also um, uh, as his own individual claim in that property. Understood?
Sure.
وإن كان الإيقاع في يد الوارث الغائب أو شيء منه لم يقسم or لم يقسم. And if the property is in the hands of the absent heir, or any part of it, or anything is of it is in the possession of the absent heir, lam yuksim, the qadi will not distribute the estate. وكذا إذا كان في يد موضعه. And the same thing will apply if it is in the possession of the absent heirs موضع or موضع. Remember I told you that wida is where the person places something as a guarantee for a purchase, whatever it says, or it's like so that is a موضع. وكذا إذا كان في يد الصغير, and the same thing will apply if it is in the possession of a minor. لأن القسمة قضاء على الغائب, because again, as we mentioned to you before, distribution of inheritance is judgment upon, or in this case here now, there will be judgment against an absent person, والصغير or a minor, باستحقاق يدهما من غير حسم, because of the entitlement to ownership without any defendant, without any opponent, حاضر عنهما, who is present there on their behalf. Okay, so you got the heirs there that are claiming the property from these people, but there's nobody to speak on their behalf from the absent people or the minor. There's nobody to speak on their behalf. وأمين الخصم ليس بخصم عنه فيما يستحق عليه. And that person who is been entrusted, like the muda, who has been entrusted with the property, he cannot stand as a khasm on behalf of the absent heir on behalf of the minor. Understand? Because that's merely in his hands as an amanat. And فيما يستحق عليه, for that which is being for that which in which a right is being claimed. He's got nothing to do with it. He's just merely keeping it as in safekeeping until he gets whatever he's supposed to get. So he can't stand on behalf. That's not part of his duties or his responsibilities to stand on behalf or to represent the absent person or the child. والقضاء من غير خصم لا يجوز, and to pass judgment without an opponent, without two parties, this is not permissible. ولا فرق في هذا الفصل بين إقامة البينة وعدمها, and in this matter it doesn't matter whether evidence is produced or not. هو الصحيح كما أطلق في الكتاب, and that is the correct opinion as has been mentioned generally in the book, meaning in the Mabsut or in Kujuri. Probably Jami al-Saghir maybe. Gee, anything you didn't understand, anything you're not sure about?
So this last part is only when the property or the what you call it is in the hands of the minor or the person who is absent.
Say again?
I say so this last part is only when the property is in the hand of the minor and the person who is absent.
Absent person, yes, correct.
Then
Then you
nobody can
can't,
stand.
if it's in their
Nobody can
possession,
stand.
then you can't do anything. You have to wait for them to come or you have to appoint somebody for the child first?
جي.
Mm.
جزاك الله.
I mean, yeah, okay, we'll stop there, inshallah, and continue from there. Not much left, and then we're going to go on to the next fasal, which is regarding what can be distributed and what will not be distributed. سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.